Thank you so much for joining us today, Selina. Can we kick off with telling us, you tell me who you are, where you're from, and where are you based now?
Okay, great. Yeah, my name is Selina. I'm originally from Switzerland and currently on a sabbatical time here in Cape Town, South Africa. And I lived in Singapore from 2019 till 2022.
Oh,
Yeah.
very good. Very good. So tell me, what has been your trailing spouse journey to date? Give us the run through from the very beginning.
Yeah, it has only started in my mid-30s actually. But I have to say it was always a dream. I always like to get to know new cultures and also learn new languages. So when I was 20, I've spent 3 months in London to learn English. This was my first time living in another place, far away from family and home. And later I spent a month in Vancouver, in Barcelona. But there was a deep desire inside to live abroad for at least 1 year. And when I turned 30, I've met my husband. And yeah, 2 years later, my first daughter was born. So we were quite settled, and we thought it's probably not the right time.
So
to go and live
where were you
abroad.
based at this stage, and what countries?
We were based in Switzerland, in Zurich. Yeah, actually in the city. Yeah.
And he's Swiss as
And
well, your husband?
he's Swiss. Yeah, he's Swiss, and he had the same dream. Actually, he also told me how I would really love to live abroad at one day. But then with the newborn baby, we both thought it's not the right time to get out of the comfort zone and to start in a new place. And we really prefer to be with family around us. But we always enjoy traveling. So we brought our daughter to South Africa, to Asia, to Costa Rica. So we traveled a lot. And then back in 2019, we had already a second daughter. We planned a bigger travel for 6 weeks through Southeast Asia. And I think 2 weeks before we went on the plane, he came home from work and he told me, oh, there is an opportunity coming up for him to work in Singapore. And initially he hesitated to tell me because he knew if he would tell me, I would say, just try and let's do it. So he had to make up his own mind first, and then he told me. And then during our travel, I remember we were in a mall in Bangkok. He had his first interview, and yeah, it continued all during all the travel. And I think on the last day, or maybe 2 days before, we flew into Singapore. This was our last destination before we flew back to Switzerland. We were sitting at the pool in Langkawi. And then he got the phone call, and yeah, we knew, okay, in 7 weeks we will be living in Singapore. And this was really strange for me because I've never been to Singapore before. And then we flew to Singapore, and I knew in 7 weeks I will live here. And I really prayed that I will like it. And I think it was love at first sight. I really fell in love with the city, luckily.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
So what was supposed to be a holiday turned into like a recce looking for somewhere to live, and what are we going to do with
exactly. Yeah, it was exciting and scary at the same time. And then, I mean, we returned to Switzerland. We had to tell our family, which was a bit hard. I mean, we had to pack household. I had to quit my part-time job. We had to organize all this admin stuff with immigration into Singapore, which was a nightmare. And yeah, and then we arrived with a 5 and a 2 years old. And we had a very, very bumpy arrival the first month was a nightmare, really. It was really a nightmare. We were in this serviced apartment. The kids got chicken pox. I had to go house hunting. My husband was very, I had to bring the 2 kids with me for house hunting, and then I got sick. So before we moved into our new apartment, I had 40 degrees fever. We had to leave the serviced apartment, and luckily my husband, he got an ex school friend, and we knew he was living in Singapore, so we called him and we told him the whole story, and he told us, okay, just pack your things, come to our house, just recover, we will take care of you, and then you can move into the new apartment.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Chicken pox with 2 kids in a service department actually sounds so horrible.
With no help, right? With no family, with no help, and you need to go for these viewings. You cannot just say, okay, no, because you're running out of time. So you really need to find an apartment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so how, once you were sorted in the new apartment, how did you navigate a social life or building a network? What did those sort of first 6 months look like for you when you were here?
Yeah, the first 6 months, I have to say, I needed to recover. I needed to recover from the immense stress I had back in Switzerland, because you don't have domestic help in Switzerland. I was managing a household. I had 2 toddlers. I was working part-time. My husband was busy doing his master. So I was really in a hamster wheel. I tried to survive every day. And so the first 6 months, I actually did nothing. Not nothing, but I put in time for self-care. I went for runs. I went for facials. I went for massage. I actually what probably most of the trailing spouses are doing, right? Treating yourself and
living expat life.
living the expat life. And it was a dream. It was really a dream. But I think after 6 months, I got a bit bored. So I was looking for an opportunity to work. And I was lucky because I saw a post in one of the expat groups that Berlitz Language School is looking for a German teacher. So I just wrote them and they hired me. And I was so happy and proud that I was able to work in Singapore. Walking down Orchard, and it was really a good feeling. And I had some students I taught in school, but also some of them were virtually. So it was great. It was a great start. Yeah,
fantastic. And so what year are we talking now? How had COVID kicked in by this stage, or was this still pre-COVID?
Yeah, it had already kicked in. Yeah. And then it was all virtual. Yeah.
So interesting. So tell me then, how have you ended up in South Africa now? What's been the latest jump?
Yeah, this is also, I mean, we had a lot of plans for these 3 years in Singapore. We had plans for travel. We booked already for like a trip to Vietnam. We had to cancel everything. There was no traveling. And Singapore was very restrictive with all the rules, and there was no, how do you say, we didn't see an end to it. And then we decided, okay, let's just take a break and recover from the past 3 years, from all the challenges and the fears and everything, and just take a break and spend some time in South Africa. And that's why we are here. Yeah.
Oh, so good. So was your husband able to transfer with the same company, or is this a new role?
No, actually he quit the job, and he took the risk to quit. I'm still working. So for me, it's not a real sabbatical, but he was also in a state where he felt, okay, let's just rethink my career. And maybe explore and put in some study and take the time for myself and figure out what I want to do for the next 20 years. Yeah.
So what was the pull to South Africa? How did you end up there of all places in the world?
Yeah, I mean, we knew South Africa from traveling, and I really, you know, I love the country because of nature. And I mean, we were stuck in Singapore, and it was, I mean, being stuck on this, you know, on this little island and not being able to drive for hours and see nature and be in nature, I think, yeah, that was really something we were looking forward, and we are really enjoying it now.
Yeah, that's
to have this freedom to breathe and to explore, and yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So talk me through, what are you doing work-wise now? Did you, when you were in Singapore, did you find another job, or is it the teaching job that you're still doing, or what is it that you're doing with yourself now that you can still do it in South Africa?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, COVID was a big challenge, right? But I think it was also a big chance for me to focus on and to figure out what I want to do professionally, because I was working in healthcare services my whole life, and I through my own health challenges, I was drawn to alternative healing methods, and I was studying naturopathy back in Switzerland before I got the kids. But then I kind of lost momentum to pursue that further with toddlers and household and everything. So Singapore and maybe also COVID gave me the chance to reflect and to figure out what I want to do and how I want to spend my professional life till I retire, right? So I signed myself up for coach training. I became a health and wellness coach, and I also became a holistic nutritionist. So yeah, I really invested into my learning, and then suddenly somehow I met the right people. I met Andrea. She's a kids life coach, and she had this fantastic idea to set up a family coaching practice, and she already took the steps to set it up. And now we have a family coaching practice in Singapore. It's called Frolic for Life, and we are an amazing collective of female coaches, and we empower families to get the best out of life.
So good. So you can do that remotely from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, that's the great thing. It's virtual, and I can actually work from anywhere in the world. Yeah.
Oh, how fantastic. So as far as the logistics of that, how did you set up, well, actually, I should take it back a question. Did you arrive in Singapore on a dependent pass? Is that how you were initially in Singapore? And then how did you sort of transition into that sort of consulting, I guess, in the coaching space?
I arrived on a dependent pass, and through Berlitz, I got the LOC, and then I set up my own company, and I got also an LOC approved for 2 years, which was very surprising. But and then I could work. Yeah.
So an LOC, just for those that might not know, an LOC is a letter of consent from the Singaporean government, which gives you permission to work or to trade in Singapore. So how then, now that you guys have left Singapore, well, firstly, is there plans to come back?
Yeah, I mean, we are now in a position. He is applying for jobs, and we are looking to come back to Asia as well, maybe also to stay in South Africa. We don't know yet, so everything is open. And it's also again, it's out of our comfort zone. You know, you face the unknown. You know, you don't know what's next. there might be also a possibility that we go back to Switzerland. So everything is unclear at the moment, and it's something we are facing. It's a challenge. Yeah.
So how does it work in South Africa? Are you as a foreign business, or you working remotely for a foreign-owned company? How does it work in South Africa? Like, how is the work situation for a trailing spouse? Or if you are the spouse at the moment and your husband is trailing you, while he's deciding what he wants to do for work, how does it sort of work as a foreigner in South Africa?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of digital nomads here, and I would say we are digital nomads, and yeah, let's see where it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, so interesting. So can you tell me, if you could name one, what would be one of the most incredible experiences that you've had as a trailing spouse?
Yeah, I think maybe not incredible, but I was really surprised how open and helpful the expat community is. It's very inclusive, and they're all very eager to make new friendships. And this was something surprising, because, I mean, we were living, by the time we left Switzerland, we were living in a small village a bit outside of Zurich. And even though I'm a very open person, it was incredibly hard to make deeper connections and friendships. And this was the totally opposite experience I had in Singapore. So not so much from the local community, but from all the other foreigners. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how have you found it in South Africa as well? Have you been able to find your people?
Yeah, actually, the South Africans are also very open. It really reminds me of Singapore. They're all, they invite you and talk to you, and it's very, very open people. Yeah.
Yeah. So apart from the sickness in a small apartment with your arrival in Singapore, what do you think one of the biggest challenges you've faced as a trailing spouse has been?
Yeah, I mean, the language barrier was for sure one. Even though I learned English, but it was very basic English, and I really had to learn it properly. I mean, I'm still doing a lot of mistakes, but I can have a conversation like this, so I'm very proud. And and the bumpy arrival, of course, was a big challenge. COVID was the biggest one, because I was not able to see my family for 2.5 years. And I think that's way too long to not being able to see your close family. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. So if you could give one piece of advice to other trailing spouses, or something that you wish you'd known at the start, what would that be?
Yeah, be open-minded. I think that's something I would say. We are social beings, and especially as a family, without a support network like you're used to have at your home country, with grandparents and friends and neighbors who can jump in if it's necessary. I think this is essential to build this social network as soon as possible, or even you can reach out before you to a group before you do the relocation. And I mean, what I did, I joined some expat groups on Facebook, and I got in touch with people. I talked to neighbors, and
It's really it's pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, isn't it? And talking to people that you might not you might have been a bit more shy previously.
Yeah, and I think a very important advice is don't hesitate to ask for help, because I feel everyone is really open to offer help, and we are still helping. I still get messages. Oh, I saw you were living in Singapore. Can you give me advice, or do you know a doctor, or whatever? And the expat community is really helpful. So don't ever hesitate to ask for help.
I think that is fabulous advice. Fabulous advice. Thank you so much for your time, Selina. It's been great to hear sort of your story and how you've ended up where you are. And I look forward to hearing where you end up next.
Yeah, thank you. Me too.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.